Today's topic is Zen. One can really only say what Zen is not, and we can point to it, but it's not something you can really describe 100%. Zen is not a tea. It's not a verb, so you can't say, "Ooh, that was very Zen." It's not a noun that can be used like zenning. "Ooh, that surfer, wow, he was really zenning." No, he might have been in the zone, which is very cool, but he wasn't zenning. Zen is not a little sandbox on your desk with little rocks in it and a rake. So let's just kind of give you an overview of what the situation is, what the difficulty is in explaining what Zen is or is not. Let's just say you think you're here and understanding Zen is here, and you want to go from here to here. Or let's just say you're here, enlightenment is here, and you want to go from here to here and experience enlightenment. So there's a separation there in your mind. In fact, you've got these circles mixed up, but that's how we think, linear. I want to get from here to there. So we think in a linear manner. In essence, imagine you're the circle here, and this around the circle here is the universe. And this, all of this, is oneness, enlightenment, awakening, a realization of Zen, and you're here in the middle, but you're separate because you see yourself as here. So what Zen does is erase everything around, erase the border, and then everything is one. But wait, there's more. If you erase the border, because the universe doesn't have a border except the border of our knowledge, but if you erase this outside border, because the universe is really everything, not only going out this way in every direction, but this way, in all directions. So that kind of shows you the difference between where your understanding will ultimately take you, and it won't even really be understanding, let's just say actualization, as opposed to, gee, I'm here, enlightenment's here, I need to get from here to here, show me how to do it. It's not the same. And what most religions do is they say, I'm going to take you from here to here, and this is the roadmap, and they call it whatever their scripture might be. It could be Bhagavad Gita, it could be the Bible, it could be the Old Testament, it could be the New Testament. Those are all maps, those are roadmaps. But what Zen is not a map. Zen is the actual terrain. So the problem is most people confuse the map for the actual terrain. So what Zen gets away from is maps. There is no path to truth. There is no road to Zen or understanding it. There just is everything as it is. And Zen points to a true realization of that. So one of the best ways that this can happen, one of the most useful ways, is through stories. So I'd like to tell you a Zen story, and this would be story number 1, basically, in a collection of 101 stories. And here goes. So this Zen story takes place in a little town in ancient times. The Zen master is visited by a university professor, who says, "Please show me Zen." So the Zen master makes tea, and serves it to him, and pours it into his cup. And what the Zen master does is he keeps pouring and pouring and pouring, and the tea overflows onto the floor, onto the ground, and is just overflowing. And the Zen master keeps pouring. And the university professor says, "Stop, stop, the cup is over full." And then the Zen master says, "Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions and your own ideas. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" So we want to sit with that story a little bit and think about it. And when I first read the story, my interpretation was just a very quick, superficial one. And it's, I think, a pretty normal interpretation. Oh, yeah, right, I can't really understand anything deep or anything philosophical unless I free myself of my own opinions. So, okay, what's that story about? I guess I need to have an open mind. It's way, way more than that. What the story points to is, yes, it points to having an open mind and letting go of your own opinions and preconceptions, especially your preconceptions about Zen. But you must go way, way deeper than that. You really have to let go of everything. And it's not just a question of letting go of your opinions about Zen or your philosophical positions or your opinions about life. You've got to really let go of everything, every opinion, every judgment, every label, every name, everything. That's what the story is telling us. So to give you a little glimpse of that, if you're in the forest and you see a tree, the mind immediately says, "Oh, tree." And, what I do still, and used to do a lot, is, "Oh, what kind of a tree is that? Oh, yeah, that looks like a paper birch, I think. Could be an aspen. Oh, I can't remember." So the mind starts to label things or wants to identify things. I see a bird. Oh, sparrow. Oh, robin. So you start to immediately name and label things, and we're taught this from a very young age. But what happens, try and find out, if you can be present in nature. It's easier. If you can be present and not name, not label immediately with your mind what you come in contact with. So that's what the story is telling us. And if we take it a step further, so once you can do that, maybe you will be able to do that occasionally. See if you can do that when you see a stranger, that you're driving your car and you see a stranger on the street, they're waiting for a bus. The mind immediately wants to label that person or judge that person. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, but this is what we're taught to do, and a lot of times we do it in terms of fear or, threat or non-threat. We look at people, especially strangers, as a threat or not a threat. And we quickly try to determine in our mind all the elements and factors. We look at the clothing, we look at how the person stands, what the person is carrying, and we determine if they're a threat or not a threat. And we don't necessarily consciously think that, but suddenly you're driving into a neighborhood, and the first thing you do is you look around and you lock your doors. Why do you do that? I'm not saying don't lock your doors if you're in a neighborhood that you consider to be threatening, but I'm pointing to the tendency we have to unconsciously make judgments about people. So even when you're in a safe environment, if you're in a social environment or you meet some people, you're in a supermarket, you're anywhere, you're still doing the same thing. You're still creating these judgments and ideas and conclusions about people. So that's what this story is actually pointing to. Now, to continue, how can we apply this in daily life? What's a takeaway, something you can actually start to do based on this story? What you can start to do is watch yourself, and don't be harsh with yourself, but just watch yourself applying labels to everything we do. And when you do that, you're separating yourself from what's actually happening. So even in a simple thing like having breakfast, you might not even be conscious of what you're doing because your mind is rambling somewhere else. Okay, you're full of your own opinions. Your cup is over full. So even though you may not say to yourself, gee, coffee cup, English muffin, marmalade, you may not be saying those words to yourself. Your mind may be somewhere else completely. And by the time you finish having your breakfast, you don't even remember that you had it. You definitely did not enjoy it to the fullest extent you could have enjoyed it because your mind was full of ideas, full of opinions. It may have been in a completely different place. So what you could do, what I would suggest you might want to try, is focus on that activity, that moment, without labels of exactly what you're doing. Taste the food you're eating, the tea you're drinking. Feel with all your sensations, the cup you're holding, the fork or knife in your hand. Breathe in, smell what you're eating before you actually bite into it. So I'm giving you one simple exercise that is pretty down to earth. It's something we all could enjoy, and that's eating. So whatever it is, stay with that and try to be more aware, conscious, present. These are all words, but not the thing. So try to experience what I'm pointing to and watch yourself as you grow in awareness and letting go of all the labeling and the opinions. So at first you'll say, yeah, I can do this, but why am I doing this? You might question it and not bother, or you may give up doing it, or you may try to do it for half a meal, and then by the end of the meal you're lost. Don't be too tough on yourself. But I can promise you this, that the more you work on this, the more you attempt to do this, the easier it will become. And next time, what we can talk about is what some of these thoughts are that keep running through your mind in this ceaseless, endless chatter that goes through your brain, and how useless it really is. But for right now, I'm giving you that first that first glimpse of what Zen is about. It's not about from here getting to here. It's from here outwards, erasing all boundaries and coming in contact with the ultimate reality. And that starts with the simplest thing, like eating a meal, brushing your teeth, taking your shower, all of these activities. Try and be conscious and not label, and just be aware of what's happening. Because if you don't do that, you're actually missing out on life itself.